History in the making. The planning continues for President Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong to meet for the first time in just 1 week. Today, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo meeting with the Singaporean foreign minister, all in preparation for next week's historic summit. Joining me now is Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis. He's a retired U.S. Army colonel. Thank you so much. So what do you think went on in that meeting today? What do they have to prepare for? What are they asking Singapore to do?
Yeah, they have a whole host of things that they're wanting. Some of them are mundane, simple things like making sure, that everything is set up in the right way, it follows, diplomatic protocol. Some things more serious, like make sure security set up and that sort of thing. But the other thing that's probably the most important thing as far as most people are concerned is that the discussions continue to go on between State Department and White House officials, along with their North Korean counterparts, to continue to make sure to set up the stage that the summit can come off with an effective outcome for the United States.
I mean, the fact that they had such a clear back channel or behind the scenes conversation ahead of this meeting, when you saw the meeting go on at the White House and the other one here in New York with Kim Jong-un's #2 man, gives you an indication that they're pretty serious about trying to get as much dialogue out of the way before the actual meeting, doesn't it?
It does, and that's so important with these kinds of meetings, because the last thing you want is for the two heads of state to get there and one of them is surprised. They find something they're not expecting, because then that could have all kinds of negative ramifications. But the more things that they get knocked out before, and they're both are communicating through their staffs of what their requirements are, where they might be willing to entertain some differences, and I think what you're going to find is it's going to come through that they're going to have some sort of an outcome that I think both can probably say this is a successful beginning of a process, which President Trump tweeted earlier today. And I think that's exactly what you're going to see.
At the same time, there are a lot of other interesting signals. You have Bashar al-Assad, either, depending on which report you're looking at, trying to have some sort of meeting with Kim Jong-un, or maybe Kim Jong-un initiated it, depending where you're looking. And then also him getting rid of 3 of his top leaders. Who knows what they were saying and why they had to go. What do you make of those signals?
Yeah, those are not surprising. Well, the first one is not surprising with Bashar al-Assad, because you see a very clear pattern since the Olympics of Kim Jong-un trying to present himself as a strong, responsible leader, as a head of state, to do all these diplomatic things. He wants to give a nice image to the world to see. So this is kind of in keeping with that, where he wants to broaden his appeal across the board. Now, the three generals that have been replaced, that's certainly some concern, but it looks like that Kim is trying to firm up his command of all the people that he has under him.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Iran says they plan to tell the UN that they're going to boost their uranium enrichment just in case the Iran deal, which President Trump pulled out of in early May, of course, fails completely. Is this a threat to the world? Do you think that they mean it? Do you think that it makes people nervous, or is this what you would expect?
Well, at least from what Ayatollah Khomeini said today, he said he's going to give a notice to the UN tomorrow, the IAEA, about reprocessing within the confines of the JCPOA. Apparently, they had some room; they hadn't been maxed out. So it's not really a change, and it's definitely not a strategic threat or even a military threat to the United States. It's not welcome, but something we're definitely not concerned about militarily.
Interesting. All right, Lieutenant Colonel, thank you for joining us.